Welcome to another video tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at creating day and night cycles inside RPG in a Box. Now, I'm going to cover two examples in this video. I'm going to talk about how to use the inbuilt day-night cycle system. We'll talk about how to set that up, but also talk about some of the limitations that come with the inbuilt approach. And then we'll take a look at how to create a custom scripted day-night cycle system and talk about the benefits that come with taking that more customized, manual, handmade approach. We'll also talk about not just how to change the lighting for day and night, but we'll also take a look at how to script certain things to happen at certain times of the day. So, for example, at night, you can have lights come on. You could have certain enemy types spawn, that sort of thing. We'll take a brief look as well at how to do certain things at certain times of the day. So with that all said, let's get started. So we'll start by taking a look at how to use the inbuilt day-night cycle system and how to set up a very simple transition from day to night and talk about all the options and what they do and how they work. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to create your day and night lighting, okay? So the way you do that is in the map editor. So when you have a map open, so in this case I have the overworld map, it's a very simple map, nothing extra in it at the moment. If we go to the map properties, so as long as you have nothing selected, no tiles or objects selected, then you should see the map properties panel. So click that and open this up. And if you scroll down, you should see the day-night cycle section, okay? And by default, this may or may not be on, depending on how your project is set up. So we're going to turn this obviously on because we are going to use the inbuilt day-night cycle, okay? So the way to create a lighting cycle is using the options below. So here we have the day-night cycle options and the lighting presets. And if you scroll further down, let's for now, let's just move this up so we have more of the side panel. So just below the day-night cycle options, we have two lighting settings. We have the ambient light settings and the directional light settings. And these will affect the lighting in your map. So this one is pretty good for daylight. What I might do is just place a tile down. So I've got this window here, which I'm just going to make a few copies of. And then what we can do is we can mess around with the angle of the lighting so we get some shadows. So let's say we have an interesting shadow like that, for example. Okay, but let's say we're happy with this being what it's like when it's daytime. Okay, it's pretty bright. It's almost perfect, other than I just wanted to give it a few shadows. So once you're happy with once you're happy with the settings, then what you want to do is you want to click here where it says save current settings as global preset. Now, there's two ways of saving a preset. You've got the map preset and you've got the global preset. If you want to use the inbuilt day-night cycle, it needs to be a global preset, okay? We'll use possibly map preset in the customized version, although the customized version can still use global presets. So just understand that the difference is a map preset means this preset is only available on this map. So if you were to load into a different map, it wouldn't have the same lighting presets available to it. But if we save it as a global preset, then every map will have this lighting available to it, okay? And this day-night cycle button here doesn't disable or enable the day-night cycle throughout your game. It's for this specific map. So if I turn this off, but I had another map that had it on, then that map would be able to cycle between day and night, but this one wouldn't. Okay, it doesn't mean It doesn't mean that this turns it off throughout your game. It just turns it on and off for this map. Okay, so we're going to have it on for this map. And we'll save this preset that we've just set up here by clicking the Save Global Preset button, and we'll call it Daylight. And click OK. So now we have a lighting preset called Daylight. And you can tell the difference between a global preset and a map preset by the icon next to the name. In this case, it's a globe, it's a world icon. So that tells you it's a global preset. If we were to save this as a map preset, and I called it map day, for example, then you can see it looks like a map. Okay, so that's how you can tell, and they're separated by a line, but that's how you can tell which one's a map lighting preset and which one's a global lighting preset. To delete them, just select the one you want to delete and you can rename it. You can also set the map to that preset, which we'll do in a second, but you can also delete a preset, okay? So there's our daylight preset. So now what we want to do is we want to create the night preset. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of the lighting. I'm going to make it more of a bluish hue, and do the same for the directional lighting, so we get a more darker blue look. I'm going to turn the intensity down. So the map becomes a bit darker. I do the same here as well. Slide that. Let's try 0.5. Something like that. That'll do for now. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could adjust the shadows and things like that, but I don't see a need to do that. So then we click Save as Global Preset, and we'll call this Night 4, let's say. So we've got daylight and we have nightfall. And to test them, you can select daylight and click the eye icon with the tick that says Apply Selected Preset. And we can see what the daylight looks like. Switch back to nightfall, and we can see what the night is going to look like. Okay. So with those set up, now we need to set up the game to actually do the day-night cycle. Because as I said, this option up here, use day-night cycle, this is just for the map. It's not for the overall games, whether it actually does day-night cycle or not. So once you've created your presets and saved them, you want to go to the game configuration section, go to gameplay, go to day-night, and here we have day-night cycle. You want to turn that on, and that will provide a few options: the cycle duration, the day lighting preset, and the night lighting preset. So let's talk about, first of all, what these do and how they work, and then we'll talk about why there's a bit of a limitation with the inbuilt system. So first of all, the cycle duration. This is how long the total day-night cycle takes place. So not just how long it takes to go from one to another, this is how long a 24-hour period is. So at the moment, 600 seconds would be from day to night back to day, okay? So to demonstrate this, let's put it to 10 seconds. That means it's going to take 10 seconds to go from day to night back to day, okay? Then you have your preset for day, in this case, daylight, and in your night preset is nightfall. And because they're global presets, they're available in this list. If we didn't save them as global presets, they wouldn't be available here, okay? So with that set, we can click OK. So if we now go into game, if we save the game and play it, here we are in game, and you can see how it's transitioning back and forth, almost sort of pulsating between the lighting of day and the lighting of night. Now, what I might do just to make a slight alteration is you can see the shadows aren't moving. So what I might do, just to improve this a bit, is in my nightfall preset, I might just move the shadows be a bit more flat. And then all we have to do is just save it again as a global preset, call it the same thing. So nightfall, it will say it already exists and will be overwritten, that's fine. So now if we go back into the game, you should see not only does it get darker, but the shadows will move as well. So if you look at the shadows, you can see they move. And then they move back. Now, obviously, they don't do like a complete cycle, but that's because it's basically going back and forth. It's like a sort of back ping pong animation rather than a circular animation. But you could probably cheat that in a way by the settings that you use. You'd have to tweak those settings to give a sort of more 360 effect. But another thing that we could do is we could just turn the shadow darkness down in the night time one, so they almost don't exist. Got to go up, save it, nightfall. Yeah, so now there's no shadows. And then as the daylight comes back, the shadows come back. So there's lots of different ways you can mess around with the lighting and the shadows to get the effect that you want. So now we've got a day-night cycle set up. We've got a night, we've got a day. Let's talk about, first of all, some of the limitations that come with the inbuilt system and why you might want to use your own, which we'll get to in a bit. But I'll also talk about some of the extra things you can do now you've got a day-night cycle system set up. So let's quickly go back to the game configuration and take a look at the day-night cycle. This is the inbuilt day-night cycle system. So let's talk about a couple of the limitations that this has. First of all, you can only have two presets. So you can either have a day and you can have a night, but there's no such way of having a dusk, a sunset, or anything like that. So you're stuck with having a day and a night. So it's binary. It's either night or it's day, night or it's day, which is fine if that's all you want to do. You can use the inbuilt system and it will work fine. And you kind of get dusk and sunset anyway as it animates between daylight and nightfall. You would have a sunset and a sunrise in those sort of in-between sections. But the problem, the only sort of issue is you can't have a moment in your game where it is just dusk and then dawn. It's going to be always a transitional moment. So that's the only sort of limitation to the inbuilt system, is if it's not day and it's not night, then it's always going to be moving to one or the other. Okay, so there's no moment where you've got, 5 minutes where you're in dusk, etc., right? So if you want something like that, where it's a slower transition between multiple presets, then you're going to want to do that yourself. Okay. The other limitation to the day-night cycle system is the fact that when it comes to scripting, it gets quite difficult to have animations that get triggered at certain times of the cycle. Let me show you what I mean, because let's now talk a little bit about some of the other things that you can do with the day-night cycle system. So one of the first things I recommend you do is in your startup script, once you've got your day-night cycle system enabled, is edit your startup script and write while true do and an end, and then print global.time and wait 1 second. Okay, I'll just save that and then tell you before I explain what this does, why I've done that. So in the game configuration, we've set the cycle duration to 10 seconds, okay? You can't go any quicker than that. You can't set it to milliseconds or anything like that. So the sort of the bare minimum you could have is probably 0.1 of a second, probably. Not sure if that's allowed. No, so the minimum is 1 second, right? So we're setting it to 10, okay? So what I'm basically doing here is I'm saying every second, constantly, while true, this is saying while all the time, every second, print global time. Now, what is global time? If you go to the documentation and type script and look up the scripting reference, if we look up global.time, it says it's the current game time. Value will be between 0 and the configured day-night duration in seconds. So it's going to go between 0 and 10. Okay, because that's what we set the day-night cycle maximum to. Cycle duration is 10 seconds. So our print is going to go from 0 to 10 back to 0 and constantly do that over and over again. So if we play the game, I want to do log message, just so it's a bit more visible. So you can see that it's constantly printing the time. You can see it going between 0 and 10. Now, 10 in this case is printed as 0, okay? Now, we've got quite a lot of numbers on the screen. So another way that we could do this is, rather than just log messaging global time as it is, we could wrap global time in a function called round, like that, and that will round that number up. So it will remove the decimal, okay? If we apply and save that and quick play, you should now see a more accurate, well, not necessarily accurate because it's removing the decimals, but it will give you a more accurate display of the seconds. So you should see now that it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay? So it's cycling, it's showing you where it's at in the time cycle as it goes back and forth between 0 and 10. Okay? Now this is obviously quite a quick day-night cycle. So what we could do is we could go back to our global game configuration settings for our night cycle, and we could make this 40, for example. And now it's going to take 40 seconds to go from day to night back to day again. So if we quick play that, so it's at 20, 21, 22, etc. And as it moves closer and closer to 40, it's going to become more night. And then after 40, it's going to start coming back more and more towards day. And around 20 is then when it's going to start becoming night again. Because halfway through, if you've set the maximum to 40, you've got to think that half of that, when you reach the halfway point, so what's half of 40? 20. So when it reaches 20, this is now considered midday, and now it's going to start going dark. So when it reaches 40, that would be midnight. So wait for this to be 40 or 0. And it's 40. And now it's going to start getting lighter. As we get nearer to 20, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter. Yeah? So that's how the day-night cycle system works. It's always moving, going from 0 to your maximum, and then looping around. Okay? So, now we know that, how can we use that in our scripts to do various different things? So, let's say that we wanted what I have here is I've got a pre-made object which I've already placed in my map. It's a set of these windows, sort of simulate a building, okay? And what I want to do is I want to have the windows light up. at night. So this is frame 1. Frame 2 is a glow with a light, so that as it turns to dark, these lights come on to simulate, so people have turned the lights on in the house, and then when it's daylight, the lights turn back off again. So it's just a normal exterior. So I have 2 animations on this. It's literally just 2 frames, one with the light off, one with the light on. It's just a light source that's animated. If you want to know how I've done it, it's just a light source in frame 1 and 2 with the color set to the color that I want, although it doesn't matter that the color is wrong on frame 1 because the energy is 0 anyway, so it's off. But then on frame 2, the energy is 1.81, so it's lit up. And I've got a range as well, although I think the range is the same. But because the energy is 0, you don't see the light, okay? And then on frame 2, I just, as I say, brighten up the energy on that light source. Make sure animated is ticked, otherwise it won't. Every change you make will apply to all the frames, whereas if you want it to just be frame by frame, make sure animated is ticked. And then basically I created 2 animations. Light off is frame 1, so that, and it's on and it's clamped, so when it plays it stays on this frame. And then light on is frame 2, again clamp. So let me just check that. Set correctly. No, light on should be 2 clamp. There you go. So light off should be the light off, and light on should be the light on. Okay, save the model. So that's how the model's set up. So we've got these 2 animations which we're going to use in our script. Okay, so let's go back to our script. We now need to think about, how do we know when it's nighttime? Right, we need to think about how can we get whether it's nighttime or not, and make sure that the lights come on at night and then turn off during the day. So we can use this while loop. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create 2 variables, which are arrays, and we want to store in them the hours of the day and the night. So I'm going to create a local variable called day hours, and it's going to equal an array. And I need to think about, using this global time, which numbers do I want to be the day hours? So let's play the game again. Let's just comment this out so that we don't get an error in compiling. Let's play it. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, I'm going to have the lights turn on. And then to turn off, let's say possibly 12. Yeah, I'm going to say 12. So that means if we go back to our script, the daylight hours are going to be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then we need to create another one of these, which is night hours equals array. And this is 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 0, just in case it shows 0 instead of 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that goes from 12 to 30, 31 to 11, and it will cycle around. So these are the daylight hours. These are the night hours. So then what we can do is we can query if day hours contains round global time. So in other words, if the time that is currently global time is contained in this array, so if it's one of these numbers, then it's considered daylight. So if that's the case, what we want to do is we want to group these together. So I'm just going to hold Shift, select all of these wall pieces, group them together by pressing G. I'll call these windows. Oops. Go save that, go back to the script editor, and we'll play group animation. Windows light on, because every model in that group has the same animation name. We can just play group animation. And else play group animation Windows light off. End. So now we have a means of, provided this works, we have a means of querying if the time is currently a daylight hour, then play group animation Windows light on, otherwise play group animation Windows light off. So if we apply and save that, oh, yes, because these should be the opposite. If it's the daylight hours, then the light should be off. Otherwise, light should come on. So as soon as the clock gets to 31, the light should come on. They do. Might be a bit bright, but you can obviously tweak the brightness. And then when it gets to 12, the light should turn off. Okay. Now, one thing to note about this, well, two things. First of all, once you've got your lighting system set up, you can stop logging the time, and you just do that while you're setting up your day-night cycle, so you can see what the numbers are at different times of the day, so you can work out your, when's midday and all of that sort of stuff. Once you've got that all correct, you can then obviously stop showing the time in the top corner. But the other thing to mention as a limitation is that because we're basically checking every second, because we have to see once a second has passed, what's the time? Is it one of these hours? It means that all of these things are going to happen every second. So every second it's playing this animation. So in essence, it's playing, while it's the daylight hours, it's basically playing the animation light off, and then a second later playing the animation light off, and then a second later playing the animation light off. Now the significance of that is if you wanted to have your animation actually animate, so in other words, let's say you wanted the light to transition between being on and off, so the light fades out, you would see it basically constantly doing that over and 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 over again. And I do print playing lights off. And then I do playing lights on. If I now play it again, when we bring down the console, you can see that it's constantly, every second, it's replaying that animation, okay? So if you actually had the windows, for example, brightening up, they would now be constantly brightening up, brightening up, brightening up. They'd be, it'd be like going back to frame 1, going back to frame 5, going back to frame 1, going to frame 5, over and over and over and over and over again. And the reason for that is because we have a while loop here that's saying every second, check this, and if it's this, do this, otherwise if it's this, do this, which is fine. But if you've got animations that, take longer than a second, they're going to constantly be reset and playing again from the start over and over and over again. So another limitation to the inbuilt day-night cycle system is you can really only, if you want to do animations like lights coming on and things like that, and enemies spawning, for example, you can only, it gets a bit problematic with this approach of checking what the time is every second, because if it's a night time every second, if you're checking, is it still night every second? And if it is still night, then have the lights on and spawn a zombie, for example, then that means your map is going to constantly be playing the light turning on animation over and over and over again. It's also going to be constantly trying to spawn zombies every second rather than just spawning the ones you want straight away at nighttime, which is fine if that's what you want. But if you only wanted a group of zombies to spawn once, then this is where the problem lies, is that we can't have something just happen once if it's nighttime and once if it's daytime, okay? The only way you could do that is if you extended the wait and said maybe wait 20, okay? But the problem with that is the day-night cycle system doesn't automatically start at 0. You'll notice when we start the game, it's already at 20. So we kind of need to have it check every second so we can keep track of the time it is now in terms of the actual game global time clock. So one of the things I'd really like to see, and I've already suggested this on the Discord, but one of the things I'd really like to see added into RPG in a Box is for there to be events that you can tie to the day and the night preset, so that when the game decides, right, it's nighttime now and I'm going to transition into night, you can have that fire an event that only happens once when that happens. So that will allow you to put scripts into that event where you can have an animation that plays completely, like the lights come on. You can have certain enemies spawn once at night, and messages or whatever happen once at night, rather than being looped to happen over and over and over again every second. It just sort of doesn't work like that. So I really think that having events for the inbuilt day-night cycle system would be really beneficial, because at the moment there's really no way of having something happen once at night, right, using the inbuilt system, okay? That's the other limitation to the inbuilt system, is that everything has to be looped, right? So if you want an animation, for example, of lights coming on, then it can only be a frame long so that they don't animate. They just turn on and turn off. It has to literally be binary, okay? And if you have other things happening like a print, then it's just going to keep printing over and over and over and over again. So, if this was, add character zombie, then it's going to add this many zombies, basically, because every second it's going, while it's night hours, it's going to be doing this, which you might not want. I just want to check, is it night? And if it is, then just add a zombie, and that's it. It's nighttime, so add a zombie, don't do it anymore. But because of how we've set this up, we're saying while loop true, wait every second, and if it's, one of these hours, do this. But it's going to keep checking that every second. And I can't think of a way, maybe someone can, correct me on the Discord if there is a way, but I'm not sure of a way to have a while loop that's constantly looping every second, but does something only once. That's kind of what you need to have here. Otherwise, these things are just going to keep happening every second while it's daylight or not. So this is where we then sort of, in order to achieve what we want here, we have to move away from the inbuilt day-night cycle system. So let's take a look now at another way of doing the day-night cycle that doesn't use this inbuilt mechanic. So for this, we don't need an array of hours, and we're going to approach this slightly differently. We don't need to print global time because we're not actually even going to use global time. Okay, we're going to do this very differently. So we'll apply and save the script. We'll go back to game configuration. We will turn the day-night cycle off. We'll go back to our map and we'll turn off use day-night cycle. But we will keep the presets. Okay, so we'll keep daylight and we'll keep nightfall as our two lighting presets. Okay. So another way that we could do the day-night cycle system is manually. So what we could do is we could say while true do, and you might want to put this into a different script, a separate script. So I'll show you how to do that at the end. But for now, we'll just put it in the startup so it's convenient. While true do, and then what we want to do is we want to wait, let's say, for now, let's do 20 seconds. So we're going to wait 20 seconds. Okay. Let's just go to the map for a minute and put the preset back to daylight because we want to make sure it starts during the day. So because we're not using the day-night cycle, we need to make sure we're specifying which lighting preset we want to start in. So because I want to start during the day, I need to make sure this is applied in the map. So while true, wait 20 seconds and then apply lighting preset, which is a function you can find in the list here, this one here. It takes two parameters, the lighting preset name, so in this case, nightfall, and the amount of time it should take to go from daylight to full nightfall. So let's say 10, okay? So we're going to have 20 seconds of daylight and then 10 seconds to go from daylight to nightfall. So the nice thing about doing this manually is unlike the inbuilt system where it's always moving, the clock is always moving the lighting. Whereas by doing it manually, we can specify that we want to stay on daylight for 20 seconds and then slowly transition from daylight to nightfall, rather than it always being transitioning all the time. We're actually going to have 20 seconds where it's not transitioning. It's just staying at a particular lighting preset. And then this is the transition time as it goes from day to night, okay? And what we can also do is create a global property, which will be a string. You could make it a Boolean, but the nice thing about string is we can then add on to it later if we want to have more options in the global property. So I'm going to call this day cycle, and this can start as a string saying day. So what we want to do first of all, is check if global.property day cycle is equal day, then it should transition via 10 seconds to nightfall. And then what we want to do is wait half of that time. So let's say wait 5 seconds. I want to play group animation, Windows, light on, and then wait further 5 seconds. So in other words, when it's completely transition to nightfall, we'll set the global property day cycle to now be night. Okay. Otherwise, if it was night, we want to do the reverse of this. So we want to apply lighting preset daytime over 10 seconds. 5 seconds into that, we want to turn the lights off And 5 seconds after that, when it's fully daytime, set the property back to day. Okay, and apply and save that. So this is now another way of doing a day-night cycle. So if we play the game, you should see it does exactly the same thing as it did with the inbuilt system, where it will loop between night and day, but it now just does it where I'm specifying how long it should be day for. So for the moment, for the first 20 seconds, it's not moving at all. It's staying at day. And then in 20 seconds time, it's going to slowly fade over 10 seconds from day to night. And 5 seconds into that, the lights will come on. So eventually, here we go, it's starting to move. And the lights come on. And now it's going to be 20 seconds of night. So we can now control how long each time of the day is. So 20 seconds time, it's going to slowly transition by 10 seconds back to day. 5 seconds into that, the lights will turn off. So it should start, hang on, it should be daylight, not daytime. My mistake, but you get the idea. Now, another thing worth mentioning is you could probably have different times for night and day. So for example, let's say instead of waiting before we check the global property, we could check the global property first. So if the global property is day, then wait 20 seconds, then apply the lighting preset nightfall for 10 seconds. 5 seconds into that, turn the lights on. 5 seconds after that, set it to night. If it's night, wait 10 seconds and then do that, etc., etc. So what this will be now is a longer day than a night. So the days are always going to be 20 seconds. The nights are going to be 10 seconds long. So if we play the game again, and this time the daytime should come, it shouldn't error this time. So, but we should have 20 seconds of day. So we should have, a reasonably longer day compared to the night. And then it will start to animate over 10 seconds, transitioning between day to night. We can obviously tweak the time it takes for the lights to come on. You might decide that that's too soon. So instead of waiting 5 seconds, you might wait 7. And obviously, if you wait 7 seconds, then the next wait has to be free, because we have to wait a total of 10 seconds before you set the global property, because it has to be equal to the transition time. Okay, and then the lights turned off and the daylight came back. Okay, and that was much quicker as well. The night didn't last as long as the day. So, going back to what I was saying, because we've set the transition from daylight to 10 seconds, or let's say the transition to nightfall 10 seconds, but we want the lights to come on, let's say 7 seconds in, because 5's a bit too early, then you've got to take 7 away from 10. The remainder is free. So then you wait, because you want both of these to equal the 10 seconds it takes, so that then now it's fully nightfall, so we can set this property to say it's night. And then from here, you could execute another script called, I don't know, nighttime or something. And then that could spawn in zombies, and you would only do it once because it's every 20 seconds, right? So it's only going to, obviously, you would have this be longer. You wouldn't have, 30-second day-night cycles, but the point is, it's just to show you how you can manually set up your day-night cycle. So you could have this be, 180, and then this could be, 50 or something, if you wanted shorter days, shorter nights, that sort of thing. So that's that. And this will now allow you to have animation. So for example, if we go back to our window and we actually set up an actual animation for this. So if I duplicate this frame 3 times, go back to, let's make sure we copy the settings across. So, and then what I want to do is make this light a bit dimmer, or just bring the lighting down to maybe almost 1. Go to frame 3, bring the lighting down below 1, so 0.8, let's say. And then in frame 2, bring this down to 0.3. Okay. So now we have a sort of light that gets brighter as it goes across 5 frames. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll go to the animation section. Light off is frame 5 to 1. Clamp 4 seconds, let's say. And light on is 1 to 5. Clamp 4 seconds. So if we just save those frames, let's just check that that works. So it gets brighter. Now I'm also going to do the windows as well, but let's just check the light turns off. Yep, so the light dims. So let's go back now to our window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that color. And on frame 2, I'm going to edit it. Make it slightly darker. Replace it. And move it even closer to black. So now we have a window that effectively turns on. So it will do that when the light comes on, and then when the light turns off, it will do that. Okay. So if we save the model, so the benefit now is that because our script is only triggering this once, and let's put this back to 20 because I don't want it to take all day. And we'll leave that at 20 as well. Because this is only going to happen once every 20 seconds, we can actually have it play the whole animation. It will do it only once. So if we apply and save and quick play, you should now see that the windows actually transition from being dark to lit up, as opposed to just instantly coming on this time. We don't have a script, so it's erroring there. But that was just to demonstrate that you could then have a script that gets triggered to do nighttime stuff like spawn enemies and things like that. I would typically put this in its own script, so I'd cut that from there, apply and save, create a new script called day cycle, edit, paste, apply, go back to my startup, execute script, day cycle. So it just manages things a bit better. So now your day-night cycle script is entirely its own thing being executed at the start of the day and just doing this all the time. Okay. So another thing to mention is the other benefit that we have to this manual system is we can have more than one time of day. So for example, let's go back to our map and let's create a sort of dusk. So what we can do is we can choose a color that sort of has a sort of duskness to it. Make it a bit darker, but not too dark. Same with this. And the shadows to, let's say, there. something like that. And then we can save this as a global preset called dusk. Make sure we're back to daylight. Save the map. Go to our script. And now we can say if global property is day, wait 20 seconds and then apply lighting preset. Dusk over the course of 10 seconds. And then we'll wait 10 seconds. There's nothing that should really happen at dusk other than just the lighting should change. But we will set the global property to now be dusk. And then we need to specify else if global dot property day cycle is dusk after 20 seconds, then wait 20 seconds, then apply nightfall, 10 seconds, wait 7 seconds, I'm going to reduce that. It was a bit too slow when the lights came on when I was testing it a second ago. And then we're going to set that to night. Now I haven't done a dusk, but you could kind of repeat the same process, I suppose. So what you could do is you could say else if after the time is up, if the global property is equal night, then wait 20. You can go back to dusk, but use it as a dawn. Wait 10. Set the global property to be dawn. And if it's not day, dusk, or night, in other words, if it's dawn, then wait 20. Apply lighting preset. Daylight, 10 seconds. Wait half of those, or maybe you wait. Yeah, we'll leave that at 5. Wait 5 seconds. Play. Lights off. Wait another 5 seconds. And finally, set this to day. So now we actually have a 4-stage day-night cycle rather than a 2-stage day-night cycle. So we actually have a dawn, a dusk, etc. So let's see how this works. So we can completely control, how long it takes to go between these stages, but also how long it stays on these stages. So 20 seconds a day, and then it should slowly animate over 10 seconds to dusk. So it should start to go more orange, and the shadows should move towards the left and shrink. So here we go, it's starting to go more yellowy color, and then it's going to stay like this for 20 seconds. So now it's dusk, and then it's going to slowly, in 20 seconds time, go darker blue, and the light should come on 7 seconds or 6 seconds into the transition. So as soon as it starts to go more blue, the light should come on. And the lights come on, it's now officially night. And again, if you wanted zombies and things to spawn at night, now would be the time to set those triggers to go off, those scripts, to spawn in your zombies or replace your entities, whatever you want to do. And then it should then, after 20 seconds, it should go back to the dusk coloring again, but to simulate dawn. You might want to have your own dawn setting though, so it looks a bit different. Here we go, it's starting to transition back. But I didn't make it so the lights turn off, so the lights are still on. You could do that if you wanted to. And then it's going to transition from dawn to daytime, and then the lights will turn off 5 seconds into that transition. There we go. And now we're back to day, and then we'll have 20 seconds a day, and then the whole process will repeat itself. So, hope that makes sense. So that's pretty much all there is to mention at this stage about day-night cycles. You can obviously fully customize, for example, this script to set it to do whatever you want and how long it should take each process. You could have as many transitions as you want, because you could just, just keep adding else ifs to have as many different, lighting presets as you want. You could have it so that every other day you have a blood moon or something like that, so that when it's night it's more red. You could do something like that, so you would have a global property that have to think about how to do it. But maybe what you do is let's think about this. So what you could do is every time it gets back around to day again, so if it's day, you could have a global property plus equals 1, okay? And then when it's the nighttime one, if global property day cycle is night, if it's dusk, then you would then check if global property blood moon is equal to, let's say, 7, then instead of apply lighting preset nightfall, you would apply lighting preset blood moon, otherwise apply lighting preset nightfall, right? So every time it does a complete cycle, you're adding 1 to the blood moon counter. And then what you'll also need to do is in your daylight counter, if you'll have to check if it's been a blood moon, then set this back to 0. So you start that counter again. So that would be an example of how you could also have lighting presets that only happen certain after, a week or something like that. So, there's lots of different ways you can mess around with this customized system. You have a lot more control over, how your day-night cycle plays out, as opposed to the inbuilt one where it's pretty limited in the sense that, you've only got 2, day and night, and also it's always ticking. Because of the duration, you can't specify that it should pause for this long and then take this long to transition. It's all a transition. The cycle duration is always going to take this long to go from day to night back to day again. So if you want a bit more control over that and how your day-night cycle actually, what it does and how things get triggered, then this is, in my opinion, a much better way of doing it. But obviously it's more manual and more scripted. But hopefully this video has helped explain both approaches, and you can then pick the one that suits your needs. And I hope this video has made sense. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask on the Discord. But for now, I'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.